The mountain air was crisp and cold when the sky suddenly erupted with a brilliant flash of blue-white light. David Kim sat on his wooden porch, a steaming cup of coffee warming his hands, when the silence shattered. A massive object screamed through the atmosphere, leaving a trail of burning debris across the dense forest surrounding his isolated cabin. The impact was thunderous. Trees cracked and splintered like matchsticks. Dirt and rocks exploded outward, creating a massive crater just half a mile from his home. David's military training kicked in immediately. He wasn't just a simple mountain dweller. He was a former military engineer who had chosen solitude after years of complex technological work. Grabbing his emergency kit and a high-powered rifle, David moved carefully through the forest. The morning mist swirled around broken tree trunks and smoking earth. Something metallic gleamed in the center of the destruction, not like any aircraft he had ever seen before. As he approached, the wreckage began to shift. A figure emerged, slender, tall, with skin that seemed to shimmer between silver and pale blue. She moved with both grace and obvious pain, her movements suggesting advanced technology integrated with her very body. Small lights blinked beneath her skin, like internal circuitry responding to some unseen command. The alien woman looked directly at David. Her eyes were not human. They were large, slightly angled, with irises that changed color like liquid, metal. She was clearly injured but showed no fear. Instead, her gaze seemed to calculate, assess, analyze. Human. She spoke. The words were perfect English, but something about the pronunciation felt mechanical, precise. Assistance required. David kept his rifle raised, but something in her tone suggested she was more interested in survival than combat. Her advanced suit was torn, revealing intricate biological mechanisms that looked part organic, part machine. Small metallic tendrils seemed to be trying to repair her wounds automatically. "Who are you?" David asked, maintaining a safe distance. She stumbled, slightly, a rare moment of vulnerability breaking through her calculated exterior. "Aria, reconnaissance unit, damaged." A small stream of silvery liquid, blood, coolant, trickled down her arm. The forest around them remained unnaturally quiet. No birds chirped, no animals moved. It was as if the entire ecosystem recognized something extraordinary had entered their domain. David knew he had two choices. He could shoot her, report the incident, and potentially trigger an international or interstellar incident. Or he could help her and potentially learn something incredible about a species beyond human understanding. His engineering mind was already analyzing her technological components. The suit she wore was not just clothing, it was a complex system of protection, communication, and biological support. Micromechanisms moved beneath its surface, attempting to seal her wounds and regulate her body's functions. "You're losing system integrity," David said, surprising himself by speaking to her in technical terms. "Your biomechanical stabilizers are operating at 62% efficiency." Aria's metallic eyes flickered. For the first time, something like surprise crossed her expression. "You understand technological systems," she responded, not as a question but as a statement of observation. The morning sun began to burn through the forest mist. David realized this moment would change everything, not just for him, but potentially for the entire human race. An alien, injured and vulnerable, had crashed into his isolated world, and she was looking at him not as a threat, but as a potential solution to her current predicament. "Come," David finally said, lowering his rifle. "My cabin has medical supplies, and I want to understand." Aria took a step forward, her movements a complex dance of technological precision and biological limitation. The first contact between human and an unknown alien species was happening, not in a government facility or a massive city, but in a quiet mountain forest. Just another unexpected morning for David Kim. Inside the small cabin, David watched carefully as Aria settled into a chair. Her movements were still precise but less mechanical than before. Small lights beneath her skin continued to pulse, creating an almost hypnotic rhythm against her silvery blue skin. "You will not contact anyone," she stated flatly, more as a command. then a request. Her advanced healing systems were already working, closing the wounds from her crash landing. Silvery threads moved beneath her skin, reconnecting damaged tissue with remarkable speed. David knew better than to argue directly. His years of military training had taught him about negotiation, about reading between the lines. "And why would I do that?" he asked, keeping his tone neutral. Arya's eyes shifted color, from metallic gray to a deep blue that seemed to hold centuries of information. "Your species is being evaluated," she explained. "This interaction is a critical assessment." She pulled out a small device from her torn suit, something that looked like a cross between a tablet and a living organism. The device pulsed with soft light, displaying complex diagrams that David could partially understand. Star charts, biological, measurements, technological readouts. He realized this was more than just a communication device, it was a complete data collection system. "Evaluated for what?" David asked, pouring 2 cups of coffee. He noticed Arya's eyes track the movement of the liquid, analyzing its composition with rapid micro-movements. She accepted the coffee, studying it before taking a careful sip. Her reaction was subtle, a slight widening of her eyes suggesting surprise at the taste. Potential, resistance, technological capability. David chuckled. It was a dry, controlled sound. "And what have you determined so far?" Arya's response was immediate. "Humans are unpredictable, dangerous, potentially valuable." The way she said valuable made David's military instincts tingle. It wasn't a compliment, it was a classification. Throughout the day, an unusual routine developed. Arya moved around the cabin, her advanced suit slowly repairing itself. She examined everything: the books, the technology, the simple tools David used for mountain living. Each item was scanned, analyzed, categorized. David watched her, fascinated. He recognized her behavior as a complex data-gathering process. She wasn't just looking, she was learning, understanding, building a comprehensive profile of human existence through his small mountain home. "You crashed intentionally," David suddenly said. It wasn't a question. Arya paused, her metallic eyes meeting his. "Partial truth," she responded. "Initial mission parameters were modified upon detecting your specific location." Something in her tone suggested a story far more complex than a simple reconnaissance mission. David had spent years decoding military communications. He knew when someone was hiding something significant. As evening approached, Arya made her intentions clear. "You will remain here. Communication with external human networks is prohibited." Her words were a blend of technological precision and absolute certainty. David realized he was now part of something far larger than himself. An alien species was using his isolated mountain home as an observation point, and he was essentially their unwilling host. The cabin's wooden walls seemed to hold new secrets. Outside, the forest remained unusually quiet, as if nature itself was waiting, watching, understanding that something extraordinary was unfolding. Arya continued her silent investigation, moving between technological analysis and careful observation. David knew one thing with absolute certainty. His quiet mountain life had just become infinitely more complicated. And somewhere in the background, unspoken but present, was a growing tension, a challenge, a potential conflict that would determine not just his fate but potentially the fate of an entire species. Night fell. The cabin's single light illuminated Arya's still form, part biological, part technological, completely alien. And David Kim sat watching, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. The days passed slowly, each moment a careful dance of strategy and survival. David realized he was engaged in a complex game with Arya, a technological chess match, where every action, every word carried deeper meaning. His engineering background became his greatest weapon. While Arya believed she was studying him, David was equally studying her. He watched how her advanced suit responded to different environments, how her communication device processed information, how her body adapted to human surroundings. 1. Morning. David intentionally left an old laptop near her. It was an outdated machine, something he had kept from his previous military research work. Arya's metallic eyes immediately focused on the device, her fingers moving with impossible precision across its keyboard. Primitive technology, she muttered, but David caught the hint of curiosity in her voice. He had strategically left specific files open: complex engineering blueprints, military communication protocols, technological research documents. Each file was a carefully placed piece in his larger puzzle. Arya's scanning became more intense. David watched her biological systems interact with the computer, small tendrils of light connecting, analyzing, processing information at speeds impossible for human technology. But he noticed something else. Each time she accessed a file, her body language changed subtly. Respect. Curiosity. A growing understanding that humans were more complex than her initial assessment. "Your technological development is inefficient," she stated one evening, "but contains unexpected complexity." David smiled. It was the first time she had acknowledged human capability without pure classification. The cabin became a silent battlefield of information. David would strategically place objects, arrange documents, create subtle technological challenges. Arya would investigate, analyze, and respond. Each interaction was a careful exchange of knowledge. Her communication device began to change. David noticed it slowly adapting, incorporating fragments of human technological understanding. Small modifications appeared: more efficient processing, enhanced communication protocols. "You are modifying your technology," David observed one afternoon. Arya's response was typical of her precise communication. "Adaptation is survival," she said. "Your species demonstrates remarkable adaptive capabilities." The forest outside seemed to watch their silent technological dance. Days turned into weeks. Arya's initial mission of pure observation had transformed into something more complex. She was no longer just studying David. She was learning from him. David understood he was achieving something remarkable. He was not just a subject of study, but an active participant in interspecies communication. Every small interaction was a strategic move. Every shared piece of information a calculated risk. His mountain cabin had become more than a home. It was now a complex laboratory of human-alien interaction. A place where technological boundaries were being quietly rewritten. Arya's body continued its remarkable healing. The silvery blue skin became less mechanical, more organic. Her movements became smoother, more natural. She was adapting, not just technologically, but behaviorally. "Your species fascinates me," she said one evening, something close to emotion, entering her typically precise voice. David knew the game was changing. What started as a forced coexistence was becoming something else, a potential understanding. A bridge between two radically different forms of intelligence. Outside, the mountain wind whispered. The forest remained silent, watching this unprecedented interaction. David, Kim, and Arya continued their careful technological chess, each move bringing them closer to a truth neither fully understood. The night settled around the cabin, filled with unspoken potential, and the quiet hum of advanced technology mixing with simple human ingenuity. The sky turned dark with an unnatural shadow. 3 massive spacecraft descended, breaking through the mountain clouds like metallic predators. Arya's body went rigid, her skin changing color from silvery blue to a deep, metallic gray. "Extraction team," she whispered, her voice suddenly filled with a mix of fear and determination. David's military training kicked in instantly. He had been preparing for this moment, studying Arya's technology, understanding her communication systems. The cabin, once a simple mountain retreat, now transformed into a tactical defense point. Arya's communication device erupted with complex signals. Strange language filled the air, a mixture of mathematical patterns and sound waves that seemed to vibrate through the walls. Her body was now fully activated, technological tendrils extending from her skin like protective weapons. "They will eliminate everything," Arya said. "Standard protocol for contaminated reconnaissance missions." David understood the stakes. This wasn't just about him or Arya anymore. This was about preventing a potential alien invasion of Earth. Moved quickly, connecting the pieces of technology he had carefully studied over the weeks. The old laptop, Arya's communication device, some military-grade communication equipment he had kept from his previous work. Everything became a potential weapon. The first wave of alien drones appeared. They were not like human technology. They moved like living metal, changing shape, adapting to the mountain terrain. Each drone was a complex weapon system, designed to neutralize and collect information. Arya's body became a living defense mechanism. She projected energy shields, intercepted drone communication signals, created complex interference patterns that disrupted their tracking systems. David worked on the communications. Using fragments of alien technology he had learned from Arya, he began sending false signal patterns, redirecting, confusing, making the extraction team believe the area was something completely different from what it actually was. Impressive, Arya said, watching David work. Her voice held something new, a tone close to respect. The mountain forest became a battlefield of advanced technology. Drones crashed into trees. Energy weapons carved strange patterns in the landscape. But David and Arya moved as a single unit, human ingenuity combined with alien technological precision. One by one, the drones fell. Their complex systems overwhelmed by a combination of David's strategic interference and Arya's advanced defensive capabilities. The primary spacecraft began its descent. This was different. A massive technological organism that seemed part machine, part living creature. Its surface rippled with complex energy patterns preparing for a full-scale assault. David looked at Arya. She looked back. No words were needed. They both understood what needed to be done. Using the communication equipment, David began broadcasting specific signal patterns, mathematical sequences he had learned from studying Arya's technology. Simultaneously, Arya projected a complex energy field that created massive electromagnetic interference. The spacecraft shuddered. Its advanced systems became confused, unable to process the combined human-alien technological assault. Hours passed. The mountain landscape was transformed. Broken drone fragments littered the forest floor. The massive spacecraft struggled, its advanced systems gradually breaking down under the combined technological attack. As dawn approached, silence returned to the mountain. The extraction team was neutralized. David and Arya stood together, surrounded by the remnants of their technological battle. "We make a good team," David said simply. Arya's metallic eyes shifted color, from gray to a strange warm blue. "Unexpected," she responded, "but effective." The mountain wind blew, carrying away the last remnants of the technological battle. Something fundamental had changed, not just between David and Arya, but potentially between humans and the unknown alien civilization watching from the stars. Survival was no longer about individual species. It was about adaptation, understanding, cooperation. The cabin stood silent, a testament to an impossible victory. The morning after the battle was different. Silence filled the mountain, but it was not the empty silence of before. It was a silence of transformation, of something fundamental changing. Arya's body had transformed. The metallic skin now looked more organic, less mechanical. Her movements were smoother, more human-like. The technological tendrils that once seemed alien now appeared almost natural. "My civilization will not accept failure," she said, looking out the cabin window. Her voice held something new, a hint of emotion, of uncertainty. David understood immediately. This wasn't just about a failed mission anymore. This was about Arya's entire existence. She had broken her own species' most fundamental protocols by not only surviving but collaborating with a human. "You can't go back," David stated. It wasn't a question. Arya's metallic eyes met his. For the first time, they showed something beyond calculation. They showed fear. "Defection means total elimination," she responded. "Complete technological and biological erasure." The communication device on the table began to pulse. Strange signals emerged, complex mathematical patterns that seemed to carry threat and challenge. Her species was trying to re-establish contact, to recall or neutralize her. David moved quickly. Using the technological knowledge he had learned from Arya, he began creating interference, complex signal patterns that would block, redirect, and ultimately confuse the incoming communication. They will send more, Arya said. Not just drones, real extraction teams. Her hand touched a small device hidden in her suit. It projected a holographic map, not of Earth but of a complex star system far beyond human understanding. Massive technological structures were visible, connected by energy networks that looked like living neural systems. My civilization sees planets as resources, she explained. Humans are potential, fuel, information sources, nothing more. David understood the stakes. This was more than a personal conflict. This was about preventing a potential large-scale invasion. Every piece of information they shared, every technological adaptation would become a weapon. The cabin transformed. David used his engineering skills, combined with fragments of alien technology, to create defensive systems. Old equipment became something new, part human, part alien. A technological hybrid that could potentially resist advanced invasion protocols. Arya began teaching him, not just about her technology, but about her civilization's fundamental thought processes, how they viewed existence, how they calculated survival. Each lesson was a piece of a larger puzzle. You are changing, David observed. Arya's response was unexpected. Adaptation is survival, she said. But this time, the words held something more. Emotion, choice. Days passed. The mountain remained their silent fortress. They worked together, creating technology that bridged two different species' understanding. Complex communication systems, defensive protocols, ways to potentially warn Earth about the coming threat. The communication device continued to pulse, threat signals, recall commands, elimination protocols. But David and Arya had created something the alien civilization could not easily understand: a collaborative defense system. As weeks turned into months, something remarkable happened. Arya's technological systems began to integrate more human characteristics: unpredictability, emotional response, choice. I choose to stay, she said one evening. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a massive technological and personal transformation. David looked at her. The alien woman who had crashed into his mountain life was no longer just an alien. She was something new, a bridge between two species, a potential defender of a planet she was originally sent to evaluate. The mountain wind blew. Outside, the forest seemed to understand. Something had changed, not just in this small cabin, but potentially in the larger understanding between humans and the unknown technologies watching from the stars. Survival was no longer about conquest. It was about understanding, adaptation, choice.